it's quite unbelievable. This one is just it's perfect. 1959. It just you can listen.
How much is
just
this?
listen for a minute. The sustain. Listen to it.
I'm not hearing anything.
You would though if it were playing because it's famous for its sustain. I mean, you can just hold it.
Well, I mean, so you'd have to.
You can go and have a bite, and you still be hearing that one.
Yeah.
Can you hold us a sec?
Be sure.
Sustainability is defined as a quality that allows something to continue on into the future. In music, sustainability is the ability to hold a note without depreciation. In money, it's also the ability to hold a note without depreciation. Obviously, a musical note, its frequency value, will eventually fade away. This is true even of a frequency produced by a silver coin. But the same should not be true in economics. The dollar note should hold its value, just as gold or silver coin hold their value. But the dollar note does not hold its value. That's because the dollar is not sustainable. In both music and money, a distortion has been applied system-wide that threatens the sustainability of notes. In music, that distortion is equal temperament tuning, the act of mistuning an instrument. In a process very much like a central bank printing fiat banknotes, musical temperament produces fiat musical notes. The term fiat implies that a currency value, or in this case a musical frequency, has been artificially and arbitrarily determined by a human decision rather than by natural processes. Manipulating note intervals to solve for the Pythagorean comma and to close the circle of fifths can be accomplished by various tempering ratios and formulas that either narrow or augment tonal distances. These adjustments sacrifice just intervals for the sake of just octaves. But in solving one problem, temperament creates another, because if you sustain a note on a tempered piano, it will produce a beat, a throbbing or pulsing that's heard when two pitches, very close in frequency, are played at the same time. For example, when the A3 key at 220 Hz is played on a tempered piano, its natural harmonic overtones vibrate sympathetically at 440 Hz for A4 and 660 Hz for E5. But the tempered piano's E5 key isn't tuned to 660 Hz. It's tuned to 659.25 Hz. So playing any chord in which A and E are struck together and are allowed to sustain, conflicting overtones result, and the conflict will produce a beat. Imagine the confusion this must cause the brain as it attempts to track two similar, sustained pitches through its frequency-following response. Throbbing beats are only apparent when notes are sustained for a length of time, and because it creates these conflicting beats, the act of temperament threatens sustainability in music. Something similar exists in our monetary system because it's been tempered or distorted in a similar way as the mistuning of our music. In economics, sustainability is threatened by the tuning of our monetary system and something FDR and John Maynard Keynes introduced to cure the Depression, the infinite growth paradigm. The IGP is essentially demand stimulus by the government and central bank. It's a policy of expansionary debt monetization leading to overconsumption. Because of this, the paradigm of infinite growth is not sustainable. When monetary notes are distorted by inflation to express a different value, when their value or frequency is determined by fiat, Metastasizing growth is not only allowed, it's built into the debt structure.
Inflation was baked into the system.
Remember that in our debt-based monetary system, money is created when it's loaned out. Every loan functions to create new money. The reason for this is because as the debt level grows, the money supply must also grow to pay off the ever-growing levels of interest on the debt. So new loans, new currency, must be created to service or pay the interest on the old loans. This constantly growing supply is what's known as expansionary monetary policy or the infinite growth paradigm. So how did this all work before the tuning distortions were made? The answer is that people used common sense. If they were going to loan someone money, they had to first save that money. This meant not spending the money they wanted to lend out. It's so rooted in common sense that it's almost painful to have to explain. When loans are made with money someone first saved, this preliminary offset of consumption functions as a self-limiting lever. Saved money is capital, and capital doesn't bloat the economy via infinite growth, because loans made with capital function within the current boundaries of the economy's scale. The money already exists before it's loaned out, and the growth the loan makes possible in one area of the economy is offset by the savings that was required to make the loan in the first place. The economy remains stable, and the difference is this: rather than being debt-based, this money is supply-based. Supply-based money doesn't generate infinite expansion. When supply happens first, economic growth is slower and more stable. Just intervals are beautiful in their tonal relationships, but self-limiting in how many can be stacked up and still remain in tune. In a similar way, just money rings beautifully when struck, but is self-limiting in how much of it can be loaned out to demand interest payments. Historically, bankers have looked for ways to avoid this self-limiting nature of capital, and have preferred instead to create a loan out of fiat currency. The obvious trade-off for using fiat currency is, of course, economic sustainability. Individual loans and small-scale debts can be managed well enough, but the worldwide system of debt-based money generates cancerous growth that expands over time and creates high levels of consumerism and overconsumption. The opposite is true, however, when people save money. The idea that saving or hoarding is detrimental to an economy is a fallacy. Anyone stuffing money under a mattress is causing the still circulating units of unsaved currency to actually increase in value, albeit slightly. The savers in any economy actually increase the purchasing power of everyone else and cause prices to fall. Saving also slows an economy's rate of consumption and growth. This is key because overconsumption and infinite growth are two of the biggest threats to economic sustainability. Inflation of the money supply means injecting more money into the economy, but more money doesn't generate more wealth, it generates more demand. And when the quantity of demand, the ability to buy, goes up, prices go up. In an inverse fashion, as the supply of money goes up, the value of money goes down. The more dollars there are in circulation, the less each dollar is worth. This is why inflation of the money supply is a double whammy. Printing money forces us to pay higher prices with money that's now worth less. I'm grateful for any feedback. Please leave your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.